Okay, yes, once again, yes, I have ungroomed hair, and I swear to you that music is going to come to this channel, man. This is becoming some type of like vlog channel. I could probably do this. This is like just simple. But I feel like this is very important to talk about, and I think this is really, it's just telling about what the times are like right now. Ice Poseidon and the socially disenfranchised. And essentially, Ice Poseidon right now is the king of the socially disenfranchised. And you might ask me like, what do I mean by that he's the king of that? And he's essentially the person everybody goes to when they are essentially outcasted from their families, their friend groups, their schools, their societies, and he's their guy. He himself has been essentially, jutted from his own group, and now he's in his own way. He's actually going in as an individual, as you would say. Like, essentially, when you become outcasted like that, you pretty much have to, you have to like, man, this is so hard to talk about. It's like you're not really protected anymore, and you're kind of out and by yourself, and just this is not what I had nothing else to say. I have so much to say about this. I have so much to say on this, but like, yeah, it's just not coming out right. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's like, I don't, I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to talk about, I think. Like, because I think I'm talking about something. I think I just realized that I'm talking about something that's very serious, actually. Like, I think there's a serious nature to who he is and the group that actually does follow him. It seems that there is a large amount of social delinquents that actually do follow Ice Poseidon. And the reason of that isn't, I wouldn't blame the people who actually watch them for being social delinquents. Because of how young they are, there had to be something that happened around them that made them want to fight the world. You know what I mean? Like, there is, when you do become a social delinquent, you are essentially outcasted from your groups, and it's especially like in school, in a school setting, like the loner, the individual, the guy who isn't the popular within the popular group, and that does take a lot of courage. And when you're young like that, you never really have anyone to like follow. And Ice Poseidon is literally that person who has come from that group and is now successful, and he's actually somebody to follow, and it's very admirable. And so that's why I noticed that, like, there's a lot of there's a lot of like emotion within Ice Poseidon's community. Like, I do notice that they hinge themselves onto him very, very, very hard. And you ask yourself why. And it's because I would probably say it's a bunch of young guys, and you know, it's an emotional nature. They don't really have anyone to look up to. And so that's why a lot of people do watch him, because he is somebody to look up to, who is actually relatable to themselves. Finally, somebody who has actually come from the place that they have, and actually is, as an individual, going out into the world and becoming somebody despite the surrounding society around them. Is, it takes a lot of balls to do that. It takes a lot of strength and courage. You have to be willing to accept that the groups around you who are essentially flawed, like, this is pretty much essentially what creates social delinquents, like a flawed society, and there are certain individuals, who call that society out and say, yes, there is a flaw here, right? Not everybody likes to hear that. And so if one person would be so courageous to actually call somebody out on their bull, then if the society goes back on them and outcasts them, they become socially disenfranchised. It kind of happens usually within the family circuit, like there's trouble at home, and a child, especially one who is in middle school or something, they don't have any control over that world. No control. But they know what's wrong and what's right. And so essentially, in growing into adulthood, they're growing an essential anger for the people around them, the people who they're supposed to actually respect. And that comes out in terms of, like, a disobedience to teachers and disobedience against the law. Like, it's all down to these little minute situations and these little minute, like, occurrences within society. It's all about that. It's really all about that. And Ice Poseidon actually shows people what it is to realize that there's a flaw in a system, right? Be courageous enough to actually say there's something wrong here, right? Then actually go out on their own, regardless of the essential support that you do get from society, and essentially make their own group. And like, it used to be, he was on Twitch, and I would definitely say that Twitch is a terrible company. They're so weak, and they're completely biased. And the reason why their community is the way it is a definite result of just a bad company. Just a terrible company. They never get anything right. They ban people left and right. And now even Ice Poseidon as an individual, he is a competitor to a whole company, and that does make them nervous. They kind of don't want him around because if more people realize that, he's been wronged, and if more people realize that, there's a person like that in just the live streaming space, they will actually move. I'm pretty sure they will actually move. Yes, the people who are around him are toxic, and that is literally, if I would give any advice to Ice Poseidon, I would literally say, like, just watch out for the audience that surround him, because they are the ones right now that are destroying him, but they at the same time admire him and want him. And that's a very, it's like a, it sounds so messed up, but it's like a son-father relationship, a son-distant father relationship. The son, wants the father, but hates him for not being there for him. So essentially, every time I watch, like, Ice Poseidon, I just look at the comment section, and it's like these young guys are just kind of just pining on him as if he is their parent, as if he is like their protector. They're really there for him, seriously. And and they get mad, they get upset, and it's like they get emotional when he isn't around, and it's like, I think it highlights a very, very, a very deep a deeper issue here in terms of like, you know, the modern times. It's 2018 right now. Like it's it's clear to me that there are problems within our in the world. I think it's just the world now, like in Western culture, I would say. Definitely Western culture now. Um that are coming about, and like, you know, like there's social problems that are taking taking people's lives now. And you know, there isn't enough, there aren't enough people to look up to. There aren't enough people to, you know, attach themselves to. There's a lot of individuals out there, a lot of loners, a lot of people who are recluse. It's it's a tougher world out here, uh, for somebody who is, you know, smart enough to realize that there is a flaw in society and doesn't want to put themselves within that society, because they know that they will essentially become fake and flawed themselves. And it's like, okay, what do you do? Do you like, you know, follow the rules and, you know, wind up as the people that you hate, or do you go against them for your whole life and then essentially never have a life? And you know, it's it Ice Poseidon, you know, he shows you what it's like to go against that and then find the good people regardless. Like he's surrounding himself. He's constantly trying to surround himself with good people, right? But the people who are usually attracted to him are usually already socially delinquent, right? So there's a catch-22 to this, because you know, man, a lot of people who kind of surround him really don't have his best interests in mind normally. And that's a normal thing. And it's harder to find good people around him, like people who stream snipe. They would, some people, a lot of people just want to use him. And, you know, it's sad to watch, because it's like, you know, he himself is looking for like a good group constantly, but he can't find it because, you know, I don't know. No, I do know the people who are attracted to him essentially, you know, don't even realize how flawed how delinquent their minds are. And so they are, you know, constantly kind of ruining his way of trying to become, you know, a good guy. He wants to stop this and do other things, but it's hard. It's hard to do that when you have this type of community. So I don't know. I think there's I think there's a lot in I think there's a lot in that. I think there's just a lot in his whole community, and the community that he's built, and what he represents to the young. There's a large amount of men watching, so I don't know, young men or teenage angst, preteens, 21-year-olds, you know, young guys watching him. And you know, it's usually like guys who are a little bit more like of a loner and recluse person trying to fit into society. And they give them a lot of hope to, you know, continue on regardless of, you know, what society might look like. You know, I think that's pretty much the gist, honestly speaking. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a yet. I'm not a programmer yet. I'm learning, but if there's anything to remedy like people calling and people like, you know, stream sniping and just destroying his streams, I would think that there would be a great way to add a filter onto his like private live stream where essentially is a program. It might be a little tedious to make, but it's gonna like change. It might even it's gonna definitely just change live streaming forever, and people might want to buy the product if they do implement this. Like essentially, imagine this where Ice Poseidon goes into a 3D space. He gets himself he gets his whole schematics done, and what do you call that? I don't know, like you know the thing where you get in like a black suit and there's like white dots all over you, and you figure out a computer like makes you into a 3D model essentially, and they get a 3D model of him, and essentially they use that to make a filter, and so no matter what position he's in the video, the filter will be able to calibrate itself to circle his whole body, right? They'll be able to see him, but everything else around him, like see like where all this is and this is, all of that would be blurred, completely blurred, and like yeah, and that would be basically, let's say, if I would put it in layman's terms, because I don't want to complicate things, like the public broadcast, the public live stream will be filtered out to the private broadcast will be filtered. The private stream will be filtered to the public space of like YouTube, and essentially, no matter what, no one can really hack that, and you'll be able to turn on the filter when you want to go somewhere, and it will be kind of easy to just not have anyone really know where you are. You'll be able to do whatever you want, honestly. If there's like a body filter. The only problem would be that if YouTube or Twitch is like, oh, we want that software, right? Then they try to implement some type of public to private. And what I mean by that is like, you can upload your stream to the public stream, the public broadcast, and Twitch or YouTube itself will use their system of YouTube to put that filter on that, and that will never work because it'll be so easy to go into that public system and hack it and take off the filter, and then you'll just know where that person is, and that'll be the end of that. So if there was anything to this video, it's that Ice Poseidon is doing great for the young generation, and there's a lot there, and there's a lot that can be ruined also. So I mean we all saw how it can literally be like he almost got shot. So it's like in Alaska, in a random motel from a caller. That says a lot, man. That says a lot. Even before he got there, he didn't think that these guys would probably call and try to ruin his stay. But he has to understand, and if I would say anything to Ice, I would say that he has to understand that there are so many people around him who want to destroy the world, and they're watching his stream, and that's why I say social delinquent, social disenfranchised, man. Those are like the two things that completely describe this little modern world where you see somebody who's a little bit more dysfunctional. Like, there are people who just don't care, man, and they're watching him, and they're waiting to destroy him. They're waiting for that moment where they can make his life worse because it is fun for them. So it's It's a scary place to be, honestly. Yeah.